In a very beautiful city called Bonny, there lived a very young and beautiful lady called Amara, who recently moved to Bonny City. She was admired by many bachelors who wanted to marry her. But strangely, Amara had no interest in bachelors, no matter how rich they may be. She was only interested in happily married rich men, and she prided herself in the number of homes she had broken. Amara had no remorse, and whenever the wives of the men she slept with approached her, Amara would bluntly rebuke and ridicule them. "Don't talk to me," she would say. "Walk on your body. No man wants an ugly thing for a wife." Amara would insult them to their faces publicly. Some of the women would go on their knees, pleading with Amara to stay away from their husbands for the peace of their home. But Amara would ridicule them and leave them in pain. Amara took pride in breaking happy homes and destroying happy families. In less than 6 months, after Amara moved to Bonny City, she became well known by everyone as a homebreaker. However, it didn't stop other married men from falling into her trap. She was very beautiful and seductive. No man could resist her touch. Every married woman in Bonny City was scared for their marriages because they did everything they could to ensure their husbands did not fall into Amara's grip. She was equally a very good cook. She was very good in bed and was very rich. It was difficult for men to evade her approach. Some rumored her to be very diabolical, but they were wrong. She was just very skilled in the act of seduction. One day, Amara was on her way to the market when she saw a very expensive SUV for the first time since she arrived in Bonny City. The car parked a few meters from her in front of a supermarket, and a very handsome man called Obinna highlighted from the SUV with a beautiful lady called Chioma, who she assumed to be his wife. Amara was mesmerized by how happy and delightful Obinna was with Chioma. Instantly, she made up her mind to break up his home. She quickly walked into the supermarket and approached him. "Hi, I am Amara." She introduced herself to Obinna when she noticed his wife was far from him. But unlike other men who would be captivated by her beauty, Obinna appeared to not be moved at all. It seemed as though Obinna didn't know who she was. "How may I help you?" Obinna asked her with a straight face. Amara relied on her beauty to capture Obinna's heart, so she was dumbfounded when Obinna wasn't moved at all by her appearance. She watched in surprise as Obinna walked out on her when she failed to give him an answer. After she had finished buying what she wanted to buy, she coincidentally met Obinna at the cashier to pay. To her surprise, once again, Obinna asked the cashier to put all her bills on him. Then he left before Amara could say thank you. When Amara got home, she couldn't stop thinking about Obinna and what she experienced with him. She felt inferior and her ego was bruised. So she decided deep within her that she would do whatever it takes to compel Obinna to fall in love with her and lure him into her bed. Perhaps when he experiences my sexual prowess and cooking skills, he would come begging on his knees like a dog, Amara said to herself. Amara started stalking Obinna, trying to get as much information on him as he could. But Obinna was like a ghost. She was told that he recently moved into Bonny City with his wife, Chioma, and no one knew anything about him or his wife. However, Amara was told that Obinna was very wealthy beyond anyone's imagination. But Chioma was yet to give him a child after almost a decade of marriage. Despite this, Obinna was known to be very faithful to his wife, and people claimed that it was impossible for him to cheat on his wife, Chioma. This revelation piqued Amara's interest in him the more. She saw him as a challenge to be conquered and became even more determined to break his home. She told herself that if she can get pregnant for Obinna, she can compel him to divorce his wife because she is barren. The next day, Amara tracked Obinna to his office. She booked an appointment as a client, but when she entered his office, Amara locked the door behind her and boldly went to sit on Obinna's lap. Ever since the day I saw you at the supermarket, I couldn't take my mind off you. I love you, Obinna. I am ready to give you my body and my heart. All I ask is that you belong to me. But I am married and I cannot leave my wife. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you have a wife. I'm not asking you to marry me. All I'm asking for you is to allow me share you with her. Obinna smiled at her bold statement. If that's what you want, then there's no problem. Obinna replied and embraced Amara passionately. Afterwards, they exchanged contacts and Amara went home feeling so happy and victorious. She felt she had finally captured Obinna's heart, but little did she know that she was the prey and Obinna was the predator in disguise. Obinna would often take Amara to very expensive and luxurious places. He spoiled her with gifts and expensive jewelries. He funded her flamboyant and extravagant lifestyle that she started getting addicted to an expensive lifestyle. Amara felt she had won Obinna's heart. But unlike other women who would often go to confront her, beg her, or go as far as threatening her to leave their husbands, Chioma was very calm and peaceful. Oftentimes, Chioma would see her husband with Amara, but she wouldn't say a word. She would simply smile and walk away. This strange personality of Chioma bothered Amara deeply. She derived joy knowing she had conquered a woman's husband. But in Obinna's case, she didn't feel victorious because Chioma wasn't bothered by the relationship she had with Obinna, her husband. However, Amara enjoyed the treatment which Obinna often gave her, so she ignored the red flags and continued relishing the moment with Obinna. Amara believed that once she gets pregnant for Obinna, he would leave Chioma forever. But after 2 months of her relationship with Obinna, she found it very odd that Obinna refused to sleep with her, despite how seductive and tempting she was. Oftentimes, she had tried to seduce Obinna or get him drunk, but all her tactics to lure him into her bed proved abortive. This deeply bothered Amara a lot, and she started to think Obinna wasn't man enough until one day, Obinna informed Amara that his birthday was coming up the following week and he wanted to celebrate it in a grand way. He invited Amara to one of his houses, one that she had never been to. On that day, Obinna sent her a beautiful red gown and instructed her to wear it when she was coming for the party. Amara did as she was instructed and wore the red gown to the party. But when she got there, She was unable to recognize anyone. All the faces were new faces in Bonny City, and they all wore very expensive clothing and came in luxurious car. Amara was still puzzled when Obinna grabbed her hand and called for everyone's attention. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the most beautiful woman in Bonny City. She is the reason for this celebration, Obinna said. Everyone clapped massively with a cheerful tone. The introduction made Amara so happy. She felt it was a birthday celebration, but unknown to her, it was the night of her doom. Obinna took Amara into one of the rooms inside the beautiful mansion. He gave her a wine which he had previously laced with a sleeping pill before they entered the room. Unsuspectedly, Amara drank the wine because she trusted Obinna, and gradually she started feeling dizzy until she fell asleep. Obinna carefully removed her gown and kept her gently on the bed. Amara was asleep, but her eyes opened slowly on intervals. While she was struggling with her consciousness, she saw Chioma, Obinna's wife, walk into the room. Chioma turned into a very big cobra and slept with her while Obinna stood and watched. Amara was very weak from the wine that she took, so she couldn't move her limbs. As she witnessed these things, she drifted off into a deep sleep. When she woke up the following morning, she saw Obinna lying beside her. "Good morning, my love." Obinna smiled at her and kissed her forehead. "Last night was crazy. You were so good." Obinna lied to her. Amara recalled the events she witnessed the previous night, but she dismissed it and convinced herself that it must be a dream. She assumed that Obinna had slept with her because he was lying beside her. Obinna dropped Amara home a few hours later and gave her a lot of money as usual to spoil herself with. Then he drove off. Ever since that day, Obinna stopped picking her calls or replying to her text messages. Amara was confused because she couldn't remember offending Obinna. She also noticed that all the men who admired her in the past stopped approaching her. Unknown to her, that Obinna and his wife, Chioma, had stolen her womb and beauty to renew their wealth. Obinna was a ritualist and his wife was in on it. After trying severally to reach out to Obinna without success, she decided to go to the village where she came from to see her mother. Amara's mother was a single mother. She was named Jennifer. When she was just a teenager, she was forced to live with her aunt in the city. However, her aunt's husband was infatuated by her beauty and raped Jennifer, which led to her pregnancy. Sadly, no one believed Jennifer when she told them her aunt's husband was responsible for her pregnancy. She was evicted from her aunt's house and she carried the baby and suffered all by herself. When she finally gave birth to her baby, Amara, she was beautiful and exceptional. But Jennifer still harbored anger and hate in her heart towards her aunt's husband. And so, she trained her daughter wrongly, corrupting her mind with evil thoughts that all happily married men were monsters. Amara grew up with this mindset, and that was why she dedicated her life to destroying happily married homes, to show the world that men were all the same. After Amara met her mother, She explained all that transpired with Obinna. Her mother decided to take her to a very powerful wizard to reveal what truly happened. When they visited the wizard, he made some incantations and revealed to Amara that Obinna wasn't an ordinary man. The powerful wizard said to them, Obinna was a very poor, wretched man when he met Chioma. Chioma is the daughter of the river goddess. For Obinna to become rich, he made a covenant with the river goddess in order to be wealthy. The river goddess gave him 3 conditions. Obinna had to marry her daughter. He must never sleep with any woman, and every year he had to provide a young woman's womb and beauty by allowing her daughter sleep with the young woman. Amara was shocked at what the wizard said. She suddenly realized why Chioma wasn't moved by her tantrums. Amara went on her knees and pleaded with the wizard to help her. The wizard faced his deity once again and made some incantations. Then he revealed to Amara that the only way to get back her womb and beauty was to kill Chioma, the daughter of the river goddess. Amara became confused and she wondered how it was possible to kill the daughter of the river goddess. But she's a spiritual being, while I am just an ordinary human, Amara complained. This is all I can do for you. You would have to figure the rest by yourself. Amara and her mother thanked the powerful wizard and went back home. However, Amara couldn't sleep that night. She stayed up all night thinking about a way to kill Chioma, Obinna's wife. The next day, Amara came up with a plan. She went around her mother's village in search of a very beautiful lady. She was fortunate to find a young, gorgeous lady called Sandra after some days. Amara told Sandra her story and what Obinna did to her. Then she promised Sandra a lot of money if she could seduce and entice Obinna to use her for his next sacrifice. Sandra felt really scared, but the money Amara promised her was so much that she couldn't refuse. Together, they planned that Sandra would go to the party when invited, but she must not take the drink which Obinna must offer her. A few weeks later, Sandra relocated to Bonny City just as planned. No one knew her or where she came from. And in a short while, she caught the attention of all the men in Bonny City. But she refused all their advances. Her ultimate goal was Obinna, and it didn't take long before Obinna noticed her. She pretended to be enticed by his wealth and played along just as Amara instructed her. When it was the same time of the year, Emeka invited Sandra to his birthday party just like he invited Amara. But Sandra knew better and also knew what to expect. She wore the gown which Obinna sent, and after he introduced her to his guests just as he introduced Amara, he led her quietly into the same room like a sheep to the slaughter. However, when Obinna offered her the wine, she pretended to drink it. Meanwhile, she poured it under the bed. After some minutes, she pretended to be dizzy and laid on the bed. Obinna quickly removed her clothes and placed her on the bed. Some minutes later, Chioma entered the room. Obinna changed into a red robe and began chanting some incantations. Sandra laid still until Chioma turned into a snake and slithered towards her on the bed. Chioma quickly jilted up and grabbed the snake by the head, giving Obinna the fright of his life. He became confused and didn't know what to do. He watched on as Sandra grabbed the bottle of wine beside the bed, broke it and stabbed the snake multiple times on its head. The snake let out a loud cry and started changing into Chioma once again. With each stab she gave the snake, she could see Obinna experiencing a similar intense pain in a part of his body. This made him unable to defend Chioma. Sandra didn't stop. She continued attacking the snake as he transformed back into Chioma until all that was left was Chioma in a pool of blood. Sandra quickly washed herself and sneaked out of the room back into the party. It was when the house cleaner entered the room that she raised an alarm after seeing the corpses of Obinna and Chioma. The other guests, who were accomplices of his crimes, scampered for their safety before the police arrived. However, when they entered the room, Chioma's corpse was missing. The only person they found was Obinna. Amara got her womb and beauty back, and the wombs of all the women he had stolen was returned to them. Amara paid Sandra as she promised and changed her ways. She went back to apologize to all the women she had caused pain and pleaded for their forgiveness. Some years later, she got married to a very handsome and compassionate man and had beautiful children of her own. Her mother regretted the wrong things she taught her child, and she dedicated the rest of her life making up for her past errors. The moral lesson of this story makes us to understand that holding a grudge is dangerous to ourselves and the people around us. It is more easier to forgive and move on. Ill-gotten wealth comes with dangerous repercussions which would ultimately lead to your end sooner than later.